So, hello everyone to Blissful Monday, and it's really lovely to be here. This is going to be the last session for this year because the next one falls on Christmas Day. Um, so we'll recommence. Actually, the following Monday then is the 1st of January, and I am planning to do something, but just check the emails because if there's a slight chance, if I go for a very long walk or something, I might not be able to do it. But I'm planning to do actually something on the masculine energy. The solar logos is calling me. And you'll sort of see why with the lion energy. I think I'm making that connection to the kind of God masculine energy. And then on the 8th, we're going to be doing the next Venus moon gate. And actually that week before the 1st, I'll have to do the astrology of the Venus moon gate. So the Venus moon gate falls on a Monday. So Monday the 8th will be a 2-hour session. And it's the 5th gate in Gene Key 5, line 1, timelessness. So I think that's great. We're going to go from the immortal heart into the timelessness of the solar plexus. Okay, so that's the kind of broad view of where we're going next year. But I'm just going to share my thing, and there's a few other things coming up as well that I'm so excited about next year. It just feels like everything's so clear on what I need to do, and when that happens, it's usually really good for everyone else as well. So, okay, here we go. Look at this. I've managed to figure out how to share this, and I'm hoping it's not on a timer or anything, and it's going to just stay here for the moment. Okay, so presentation today is going to be on the goddess and the lion. And this was kind of coming through to me, partly because I've been in the Dream Arc retreat, and one of the stages we went through is finding our kin animal. And the kin animal is an animal that might have been with you for a long time through your life. And in my late 20s, I had a really powerful experience with awakening, shamanic awakening, with the white lions of Timbavati from South Africa, where I'm from. And I actually went over there for 3 months. I met a white lion who bit my knee, and I almost never had a bath ever again because I was like so amazed. And it was a cub, so it didn't really hurt. She just sort of gently bit my knee, but I felt like it was a really powerful initiation, and it kind of launched me for many years onto a certain path. And then reading the Circe book. So I'm reading Madeline Miller's book called Circe, which is really fantastic. And one of Circe's main, her main familiar is the lion. And you can see her here in this painting by John William Waterhouse, where she's got her lions and also her wolves around her. And so I've had many connections with lions, and also reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia stories right now, and that whole sort of dreaming world, and Aslan the lion. So I had this idea anyway. I wanted to do something on the lion, and then things have unfolded that made me think, yes, I definitely want to do something on the lion. So this is Inanna, and she's also called Ishtar in the Jewish religion, and she is also depicted with lions. So you can see she's got feet of the owl. She's got wings. She's got two owls there. She usually represent wisdom. And then she's got the lions beneath her feet. So she's another goddess that the lion is important for. And with us following the Inanna cycle and the Venus cycle, probably Inanna Venus is like the strongest goddess for all of us if we're involved in this process, because she's really one of the most ancient goddesses. You know, she's in the records from 6000 BC, and the earliest female astronomers, Enheduanna, it was her priestess astronomer. And I take the name Duana from Enheduanna, which denotes a priestess. So that's where my name comes from. And I've been into her since my 20s. So I've felt this affinity with that priestess of Inanna for a long time. And you probably do too if you're here. Okay, so some of you might remember this. When I went to Madrid this time last year, I had this sort of synchronistic moment where we drew up in a carriage, on a train, sorry, she's in the carriage, on a bus into the square. And it was like, oh, wow, there's this goddess. And it came into my head immediately that it was Cybele. Even though I don't know much about her, it's just like my inner voice said, that's Cybele. And then I saw a sign in the square saying Cybele Square. So I was like, oh my God, it is her. And what's interesting about this is that, you know, in Spain with the Catholic religion and the Inquisitions, so much of this goddess stuff has been destroyed. So to find this like massive statue in the middle of Madrid was like quite amazing, really. And I did do a class on her called The Wild Mother. It's actually on my website, and it'll be probably in the classes on Soul Tribe too. Okay, so this was the big event that made me think I definitely want to do the goddess and the lion. And Pat alerted me to this originally, this event on the 12th of December, a very rare event where an asteroid called Leona, who's number 319, occulted Betelgeuse. Now, I call it Betelgeuse. Other people say it differently, but I'm calling it Betelgeuse. And Betelgeuse is like a really amazing star because it's the right shoulder of Orion. And when I was a child, I used to look out of my bedroom window, and Orion was my favorite constellation. And it's one of us, like almost everyone knows Orion when we look up at the sky. And it's at 29 degrees Pisces, so it's like right on the end and beginning of the zodiac. And this is Gene Key 25, which is to do with universal love. And it's also the lion is the mammal for this. So here we have Orion depicted as Osiris, the Egyptian god. And Osiris is chopped up into many pieces, and Isis goes searching for him and kind of reconstructs them. And their son is called Horus. So to the Egyptians, Orion, like Orion represented Osiris in the heavens, but he wasn't a god, he was like a representation of the source energy. And I'm going to talk in a bit about Gene Key 1, because in our kind of Gene Keys language, Gene Key 1 is that source yang energy. And it feels like what this 1212 portal opened was this incredible new wave of beauty, freshness into the world. That's how I feel it anyway. Okay, so there's this idea of the risen god. So we see that Osiris, so what happens with the precession of the equinoxes is that Osiris starts to rise lower and lower on the horizon for the Egyptians over many thousands of years. So they see that the god Orion is now disappearing, yeah. And what is rising is the star Aldebaran, and Betelgeuse and Aldebaran are actually both red stars, which mean they're quite old stars, and they're kind of on their way out actually when they go red. But the equinoxes are moving from Gemini, where Orion rose as the culminating, the helical star before the sunrise. And then Horus is the next god that comes because the vernal equinox moves to Taurus, and Aldebaran is a star in Taurus. So Horus is the falcon god, and so again a connection with Circe, because Circe's name means the hawk, and she has yellow eyes. And there's been a lot of like the Merlin birds been coming to me. I've been seeing loads of people having connections with Egypt and with falcons and with this kind of bird of prey energy that Horus is embodied in. Yeah, and it sometimes feels like Circe is an embodiment of masculine, feminine together. It's almost like because she's in exile on her island, she has to kind of integrate this masculine energy. And then we have the risen Christ, who Christ is associated with Arcturus, which is the shepherd star, as the Lamb of God, and also Sirius. So I don't think it really matters that we have to pin down these stars, though, because it feels like the energy comes from beyond the stars and through it, if that makes sense. And we might experience it in a number of different ways. So if someone else has said Horus is to do with something else, I wouldn't take it as one's right and the other's wrong. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is from one of Richard Rudd's talks on Gene Key 1. And I was hoping by the time I got here that I'd remember who this guy was, and I still can't remember. He's quite not a well-known, one of these spiritual masters who came to Earth. But what I do remember about him is he preceded a kind of incoming of the Buddha, Christ. So he was the first one who carried this Gene Key 1 energy into the world, and he opened the door for many other avatars and masters. And the females in those times were probably few and far between, but they're not these days. So yeah, really feeling the connection to Gene Key 1, which has been very present in our field all along. Okay, so who is Leona? Well, her name caught my eye because it comes from lion, Leo, Leona. And it's the most bizarre story, this, because I've never heard of Leona. Not that I've heard of every asteroid, but it's like, who is Leona? Nobody knows who Leona is. And if you Google her, there's virtually nothing on her before this occultation of Betelgeuse. So from nowhere, Leona comes and does this incredibly rare and powerful act. And so she has an orbit of 6 years, 3 months. Her rotation is one of the slowest of any body. So 430 hours she takes to turn around. So she's going like really, really slowly on this rotation. And we can metaphorically imagine what that might mean. Our own Earth is dancing pretty fast around, spinning round. And Leona is one of 120 asteroids for which there's no public or official public citation. So they almost like didn't bother naming her, you know, like they've all got these women's names, these 120 asteroids, but they really weren't considered anything important. And that sort of strikes me of the Leona comes out of nowhere. You know, I quite like that energy of her. And this is where the occultation took place, which you can see comes from, um, there's a few of you here, like Kristen, you will probably be able to tell us maybe more about where this happens. It feels like it's between North and South America, maybe
Yes.
somewhere around Cuba.
It's below Florida. That's Florida, the peninsula, but also Bimini Island is really right there. And
Oh,
Bimini
okay.
Island is very much, I was in Bimini Island, and there's something to do with Egypt, definitely. And yeah. So it's the 0 point, I believe, also between North America and South America, which is like Costa Rica, but that's maybe down over here a little bit, but that's right below Florida.
Yeah, I
And
mean, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, that looks like a really interesting, sort of like amazing energetic point. And you can see here, I mean, this is where Egypt is, right? Where
yes,
Europe joins
and
Africa there. It's like, oh my God, that's like where the pyramids are, basically.
exactly.
That
And
was
that's
like,
the
whoa.
ley line of where I live to the pyramids. So I think that's why that came in my consciousness when this happened.
Okay. So that
Okay.
could be pretty much following the trajectory of that ley line then, if that's Florida just above it. Hmm. Kristen, do you want to add anything with your knowledge of the area or any of you really?
Well, I mean, from North America, I can't see it. Like we only see a little piece of it. Does the map move over?
I can't move it over, but that's Boston and that's New York there.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's Chicago and that's Toronto
I really am
there.
getting Bimini Island. I really am. It's right below
Yeah.
there, and I actually was there, and I don't know why, but I totally was guided to this, and then shared this with you, Allison. It just came to me, and I think that's why, because I'm on this ley line that leads over to Egypt, which is 29 north latitude all the way across to the pyramids from Florida, which is 29 north latitude, 29.4 to 29.9 of the
Oh
pyramids.
my God, that's awesome. Anyway, we are plugged into the Earth grid with all of this, that's for sure. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so usually there's some kind of synchronicity going on with this. So my natal Leona is a 10-degree Scorpio. And the day I looked it up for, which was the 12th of December, Venus was at 9 Scorpio. So Venus was kind of just passing over my Leona at the time. And this is gene key 44, which is all around synarchy. And so I'll say a bit about that afterwards, maybe. And so Leona was conjunct Betelgeuse in the occultation. I've said this before, 29 Pisces, which is gene key 25, line 2, which was wow, because in the dream arc, the lion is the gift animal for the 25. So you can look up where Leona was, where you were born, on astro.com and put 319 in the extended section. And then the last thing to kind of mention, so I don't know if these Narnia Chronicles, they're the most amazing books. I'd only ever seen the film before, but I really recommend these books. They're so full of incredible. I've just been laughing, actually. I've just been having so many laughs listening to these books read to me, and they really activate my inner child. And Aslan is this like, it's a kind of metaphor for the sacrificial energy that Christ and but all these gods carry. So you definitely see with the Cyrus is the sacrifice and then the rebirth of the gods. So one of the interesting things, there's actually a book called The Magi by Adrian somebody or other, who does this whole kind of history of who the Magi were. And the Magi were connecting the different traditions of the kind of Christ figure born into the world. And one of the things I've always felt like uncomfortable with the Christian message is it's Christ or nothing, it's this or nothing, and the sort of dismissal of all other religions and masters. And so what I like about actually thinking about it in this way is that the Christ, we call it the Gene Key 1 energy, appears in the world periodically to refresh and beautify the energies. And I feel that's actually what happened on the 12th of December, that we had this incredible event happen. And we're lucky enough to have two people with their birthdays on that day, Laurie and Pat, in our little circle. So that was pretty amazing too. Okay, so just to quickly run over what we're going to be doing in the new year. So we're going to keep following Venus. We're going to keep looking at the dark goddess asteroids. Medea is calling, Pele is calling. So I'm just going to follow my intuition each week, really. And, but we'll be in a similar kind of cycle where a dark goddess pops up, we'll look at her, we'll look at what Venus is doing and the moon, and keep following the Venus-Moon gates. I volunteered to do the 40-day meditation in January. So it's a big commitment because it's 2:00 in the afternoon for me. So but I'm really excited because having volunteered to do it, what I'm going to do is do a mudra sequence of 8 gene keys that are transiting through these 40 days. And what is interesting is that 5 of those 8 are in human design, or in the root chakra. So it feels this is very much about these new energies that are flowing in, and then this opportunity to kind of anchor them. And I notice most of us are there for the luminous star that Susan's been doing, which is just like so perfect to kind of open the energies more. And then Tara's going to be doing something between the solstice and New Year. I look forward to seeing what that is. And then we ground it all into mid-February. Okay, and then the gene keys, I'm not feeling moved to do another activation sequence or anything at the moment. But what I'd like to do is carry on working with the dream arc animals. So whether you've got the course or not, you're welcome to come along. We can choose you animals from the oracle. An animal might have crossed your path or been in your dream. You might want to look at, say your life work, or any gene key in your profile. You might want to look at the animal for that. And we're going to be doing the neurographic art, poetry, journaling, just wherever the creative flow kind of takes us, really. So that's all going to be on Soul Tribe in the new year. And I'm going to carry on doing dream arc for the gene keys on the clubhouse, which is a Eastern time call. So if you insomniac in America, you might want to join. But basically, it's like 7 a.m. UTC, so it's the middle of America's night. But it's good for Europe and Australia and New Zealand, and it's a really lovely. Clubhouse is really lovely. I like the energy of it. Okay, so that's it. How do I come out of this now? Stop sharing for a start. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording and just interested to see how you experience the 12-12 and the energies that are coming in. Maybe feeling the lead up to the solstice, just any kind of feedback really on how you're experiencing life right now.